Hi there, everybody. Welcome into the Pilvi Theater. We're so happy to have you here. We're going to get started right now with CA Technologies. And by the way, if you haven't gotten a raffle ticket, make sure you speak to their team at the front here. They're going to be raffling off an electric guitar. So please, well, if it's a rock star welcome, you're going to need then, if you're right. A rock star welcome for Dave Caro and Brian Whitmarsh, CA Technologies.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I am not a rock star. I'm very far from it, but I did get the chord of G, I think, was taught to me today, so I can strum one chord. I am Brian.
I'm
That
Dave.
is Dave. We manage a couple really exciting products at CA, now Broadcom, and they're focused around API monitoring and API scale testing. How many of you guys work with APIs? Excellent. Okay, so this obviously applies to you. We're going to show you a couple product demos. That's kind of the key of today, is to show you the product, talk to you about how you can leverage the solution, and tell you a few stories. All right, here's the agenda. Go through, talk about the API economy, probably preaching to the choir since you all are familiar with APIs, then go through a couple demos of the solutions.
Timer.
If you didn't get to watch this session, I would highly recommend you go back and watch this. Joseph did a great job of going through a kind of a whole CI/CD pipeline using the different solutions, the developer solutions with AWS, and specifically in Code Pipeline, integrated the BlazeMeter solution, which is integrating of scale testing of an API, as well as RunScope, integration of the actual monitoring of the API. And he talked a lot about, they were the unicorn.
Yeah, and by the way, you've got to watch the recording. This already happened. Just write down GPS Tech 310. If you have got a way to, or take a photo of that with your phone. Super useful information. It'll be up as soon as it's up online.
It's up there right now.
Oh,
awesome. I watched it today. It was a great demo. All right, what is the API economy? Previously, we always used to talk about the app economy. And in the past, applications, when you tried to do integration, it was more difficult. So you would have to do some coding. It wasn't just a very simple process to integrate one solution to another. APIs have changed that. They've made it very easy for us to integrate into other products and gain information from solutions. So, we consider them these building blocks of the application. No longer is it one big monolithic application. Now it's applications that are built from a bunch of different calls. We monitor mobile applications and web applications, and on a regular basis, our customers have hundreds and hundreds of APIs that they call to actually create their application. So their application may be calling third-party APIs, may be calling internal APIs, but those are the building blocks of their actual application. Now, these building blocks are growing. There's more and more customers are becoming more reliant on these building blocks, and it helps for making easy solutions. So, for example, the Census Bureau, they had all this great information, and they have APIs that they allow people to leverage, and so they can just let people create applications, some cool applications. They didn't have in the plan to create a bunch of nifty applications that would use that census data, but they let the free market do it. And so there's a lot of great applications that are just being able to call the APIs, get the data, and provide a service to other folks. So these building blocks are great. Like you've already shown, you guys know what APIs are. Now let's get into kind of the meat of API lifecycle, and then we'll actually show you demonstrations of the products.
Cool,
Hey,
thanks,
take it
Brian.
away.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to keep this part kind of short. I just want to give you a super quick overview of what CA brings to the market. And by the way, if you hear us say CA and Broadcom, the reason we're saying that is that CA was acquired by Broadcom. You might know Broadcom is a semiconductor company. We're the sort of the first major part of their enterprise software strategy. So you'll hear us use the terms interchangeably from time to time.
We're giving away chips after, no, I mean, we're giving away guitars after this presentation.
Chips and salsa.
Chips. There's probably chips in this guitar.
We'll do chips and salsa party. Yeah. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. This is kind of architecture, which is the idea that when you're building APIs, when you're running APIs, when you're depending on APIs, you need a full sort of ecosystem to keep an eye on it and help you move more quickly. The whole idea of this talk is doing more stuff without drama, without heroics. When you tool up right and when you have processes right, things work much more smoothly. You're not spending your nights and weekends trying to fix stuff, right? And we'll talk about that in a sec. So at CA and now Broadcom, there's a range of products that actually help you quickly build APIs, quickly test APIs, monitor APIs. The whole idea is that you should have purpose-built tools that make your job is to be the smart person getting things done, not to be cobbling and figuring out very minor details, right? So on that note, I want to get in. If we can switch to the other laptop. Awesome. So before I do my demo, I just want to quickly explain what you're going to see. This is the sort of old tell them what you're going to see, show them, and then tell them what you told them. There's a lot of content I'm going to cover, so I'm going to put a little story around this. So we have a sort of a hero's journey, which is that I actually needed a site built that would show off my technology, and so I hired a vendor, a partner of mine, to build me a site, and I wanted to have a lot of API complexity, and I wanted to have streaming video and all that good fun stuff. And this is what it looks like, right? And we tested it out. It worked great. Yay, we were so excited. Like, we thought we were done. And then I thought I'd give it a little test to see what happens when a bunch of people come along. And what's happening here is the blue line is the users arriving. The green line is the hits per second that it's delivering. And the yellow line is the response time. And the red line, which I didn't really want to see at all, is errors. And if you take a look at this graph, what's happening here is that as we added more users, we got more hits, and then something went horribly wrong here, right? Where the number of hits per second plummeted, and the response time went from like 500 milliseconds up to 9 seconds. So, and it show of hands, API response time of 9 seconds, acceptable? Right, not, right? So this is the oops part, right? So then, of course, this is what you want to do, is you want to make it better. And ironically, this is great. This took months to get, the app. But once I ran my test, I literally got onto Slack with my partner and said, hey, I'm not liking what I see. He said, give me a second. He digs into the Lambda console, made a few changes. I reran my test, and I got this. So it literally only took me less than an hour to get a hold of that guy, explain what was happening, have him look at it, get it fixed. And now what's happening is we're ramping up the users, we're getting more hits, and response time does climb, but at its peak here, it's still less than half a second. It's 450 milliseconds, which is fine with me. Half a second is fine, right? So that's kind of our journey of what happened. Now let's talk about kind of how we get there, right? So you could learn a tool. You could download JMeter, and you could learn about samplers, and you can learn about listeners, and you could learn about thread groups, and you could learn about the concurrency thread group, and you could set the test up. This would probably take you a little while to figure it out. That's one way you could go, right? And JMeter is free. It's great. But you could also just declare what you wanted. Wouldn't that be a little more fun? This is a screenshot from BlazeMeter where I literally say I want to create a test, I want to do a post, I put in the endpoint here, I put in my JSON body. We'll do a demo, we'll show you this. And I'd say how much I want my load to be, how long I want it to run, how I want it to step up, and I want it to come from 2 Amazon locations. I'm running out of Oregon, so I'm running this out of Virginia and Ohio, so I'm coming from outside the data center, right? So, and then, how cool would it be if I could just harvest what I did there? I just filled in a form, right? But now I can get code. This 23 lines of code here is that entire configuration, the entire logic of the test as some YAML. And now I can take this and check it into my source repo and run it in Jenkins every time I touch the code to make sure that what we thought we fixed stays fixed, right? So hopefully that kind of explains what you're about to see through the magic of the swipe. So interesting, I have to stop the presentation. There, magic of swipe. So there's my website, right? So if I click here and I click on an item, what happens is that an API call is made to fetch that image and fetch this text and the price and the title. That's the API we're worrying about. It's called View, the View API, right? And here we are in the Lambda. Hopefully this looks familiar to some of you. I should probably show you maybe this screen here. So give you an idea of what's happening. We're using the API gateway and a Lambda function to drive this thing. So here's where we needed to fix it. And some reason I don't have my tabs in full screen. And this is that test I ran where things kind of went horribly wrong, right? Where the load ramped, the hits ramped up, and then it plummeted, and then the rest of it was a very ugly story. So this is the BlazeMeter. It's called a timeline report. It lets you kind of see what was happening. And then when things went better, I managed to. By the way we fixed it was we went into the Lambda console and we made some changes to the memory configuration, right? And then we ran another test, and you can see here. We're able to make things work a little better. And now I stepped through my ramp, and the response time creeped up a bit, but here it's literally only it's less than half a second, right? So this is what we wanted to see, and no errors. The errors are 0. So that all looks great, but you're saying, well, how would I create that? And normally you might think, oh, a performance test, I need a dedicated performance engineer. They're going to have to create scripts. I got to find the right person. The whole idea behind BlazeMeter is to democratize this. What if I'm just a project guy? What if I'm a developer? What if I'm a product manager? What if I'm a QA person that doesn't do performance testing and I need feedback? I need to make sure that this thing works, right? So let's see how hard it is to actually create that test. I put hard in air quotes for anybody who doesn't have the video. Right, so, and actually I'll just do this real quick. How we doing on time? We're doing good. Okay, so,
I like how you pull the glasses out.
yeah, I need the glasses.
Makes me feel better. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much. It was my birthday yesterday. I'm of a certain
today,
age.
so what are the birthday boys?
I say create a test. I say I want to do this with URL or API endpoints. I call it view call, let's say, and I make changes to a post, and I put in my there's my endpoint view, and then I know that I need, you know, I'm not going to save Brian's time here. I would basically type in the header for the JSON body here, and then actually testing to make sure this thing works right is super simple. I'm just going to ask it to create an assertion for me, and I'm going to say I want you to look in the body of the response to make sure that it contains the word price, right? And when I click add, it's just going to write a regex for me. Who likes writing regex? Okay, some of you do. You admit it. Okay, several. But who doesn't like to? Who has to get out a reference guide or Google it when you needed a regex? Okay, very good. So saved you a little time. The idea here is, what if I can make it so it's just your intention? You just declare what you want and get a test, right? And then I would go down there and I'd say, you know, I want to have 200 users, and I want it to run for 10 minutes, and I want it to ramp up over 5 of those 10 minutes, and I want to have 10 steps in the ramp, and Virginia's good, but I want another location, so I'll hit plus. Now it's going to split the load 50-50 for me automatically, and now I'm coming from 2 locations on Amazon, right? So anybody think they could probably learn that in about 5 minutes? Anybody think they could learn that after 2 beers? Okay, I just gave it away. That's our design strategy, so you should be able to get an account and do this after 2 beers. So hopefully I hit my mark. So the last thing I wanted to show is that after I run that test, I can actually go, if we go back to this report that I did, after I run a test, I can go to the artifacts that it creates, and I can download that puppy. And right in there, I'm going to find this YAML script, right? And that right in there was the script. Should look familiar. It's the same one, right? Was the script that we created when we used the interactive screen. Now I've got code which I can put in source control, and I can deploy, and I can use over and over again, and I can modify it and keep track of what I changed, right? So hopefully you get the idea of the journey. I built something. I thought it was fine, but I thought I ought to check it. When I did check it, it kind of fell over. But all I needed to do was show somebody what happened. They said, give me a sec. They fixed it. I then was able to verify, and now I have code I can use every time we touch the configuration to make sure that it still behaves like it should. On that note, I should give the baton back to Brian so we can talk about keeping an eye on things
in production.
They go bump in the night.
When it's, exactly. Yes. So that's great to see that obviously we want to make sure we're able to test our APIs adequately, especially under load. Want to make sure they don't do anything funny when we throw 10,000 or a million users at it. Now I'm going to talk about actually monitoring the APIs, because if you're not monitoring your APIs, one bad API that's having a problem, maybe it's not up, but even if it's up, maybe it's not responding quick enough, or worse, it's returning the wrong data. So you want to make sure you know about that before your customer finds out about it. And it can just be one API that can ruin the whole user experience. So we're in Vegas, so I'm going to show a Vegas-themed demo here. We have a public API. I don't know, has anybody ever used the deck of cards API just to play around with APIs? It's a fun one.
I think everybody's familiar with the deck of cards, however.
There's 52 cards in a deck of cards, I think. So this API allows me to shuffle a deck, so call an API to shuffle a deck. Well, I want to make sure that API is actually functioning correctly. So I'm going to go into our monitoring solution here and create a new test, and we'll call it demo 0009. And I simply want to do a git command on that API call. Save and run. My expected response should be a true. I should get a deck ID, and I should get 52 cards remaining. Well, sure enough, I've passed. And if we look here, sure enough, I got a status code 200, which if you see our shirts, 200 is A-OK.
It's all going to be
so
200.
Everything's good. Now, it's up. Again, I want to know more if it's up. I want to know if it's responding appropriately. I want to know some more details about that API. So I'm going to say, I want to create some additional assertions. I want to make sure the response time of that API is less than half a second. Anytime we wait more than a half a second, we get frustrated. And I'm going to look into the JSON body and make sure that the dealer isn't dirty. Of course, there's no dirty dealers around here, right? I want to make sure remaining is equal to 52. OK, so now I'm checking for making sure the API is up, making sure that it's responding quick enough, and also making sure that the dealer is not dirty and that there are 52 cards. All right, so everything passed there. Now, the second part of this API is I want to be able to get some information back from my first API call and use it for another API call. And sure enough, we can do that because we have deck ID. We can now draw cards off of the deck. So I want to go here. I'm going to just add a second step. You can chain as many as you want. I'm going to make a request here. And I'm going to do another get. And this one requires the variable deck ID. So in the first call, I just want to make sure I capture that value. So deck underscore ID, and we'll call it deck underscore ID. Once I've done that, now I can come down in here into my URL and replace this static holder with the actual variable. So deck ID there. Now, if I draw 2 cards off the deck, how many cards should be remaining?
Oh, I think it's 50.
I think it's 50. So I want to make sure that remaining is equal to 50.
I love the save and run button, by the way. So he just keeps iterating, right? He basically makes a change, hits save and run. It just saves it, runs it.
Sure enough. So it passed. So we took data from the first one, we populated a variable, and then we called the next one, and we drew 2 cards off the deck. And I could get into more detail. I could go into the array and take a value of the first item in the array if I wanted. But I wanted to give you kind of a quick high-level overview of how to set up a test. So very easy to set up. Now I want to schedule it, right? I want this sucker to run. I want to know every single minute because dealers can go dirty in less than a minute.
Absolutely, keep an eye on them.
Keep an eye on them. So we're going to set this schedule up every minute. And also, sometimes dealers in different countries have different ethical standards. So I want to make sure that I can monitor my customers in different areas. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to monitor this API call in different locations. Maybe Ireland, Singapore, and Brazil. So right there, you've seen that I have created a very quick monitor of the API. I've been able to set up and run it from different geographic locations because sometimes our APIs perform differently in different geographies. And I'm going to have this run at a scheduled basis. Now, obviously, I can hook it into notification, whether you want an email, an SMS, you want integration into PagerDuty, you want your Slack channel to populate with this information. We have a lot of integrations into it as well. But we just wanted to demonstrate how easy it is to monitor your APIs and test your APIs at scale. So hopefully that was a good demo. The little clock says we're running over. And we have to give a guitar away, right?
We do have to give away a guitar.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. Oh, hey.
Who knows how to play a guitar? This is a magic guitar. Everybody that has won, it just picked it up and starts strumming. I can't.
All right.
Okay.
You do
what
the
do we have?
draw.
I still have my glasses on so I can see this.
Excellent.
Okay, last four numbers. Well, let's do them all. 838445. 838445.
Oh, must be present.
Hey,
Oh, there we go. All right.
Excellent.
Woo.
Come on up.
All right.
Do you know how to play a guitar? You did. Awesome. All I know is Guitar Hero. So congratulations. You're going to win this guitar.
All right.
We'll teach it.
There you go.
All right. Thank you all for coming. If you want to learn more, please come to our booth. We've got a party tonight
Got a
at
picture with that.
6:30
Yep,
at
take
the
a picture.
Americana in the links. Free food, free drink. You know, if you haven't seen enough of us already, please come join us. Otherwise, we'll be drinking by ourselves.
Yeah. And
Happens on a
good-
regular
good
basis
canned
anyways.
beer, by the way. They've got good beer, real beer.
We have good beer, yes.
People say canned beer. I'm thinking, oh
Coors
no.
Light
PBR.
and Bud Light, or
All right, once you pop up here, we'll do
Okay.
over here. We'll do a picture with the winner.
And the booth number, if anyone needs it, is 2626. Thank you, gentlemen.